Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dark roast with free shipping? All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. Welcome to another edition of Whitetail Rendezvous. We're heading out to Virginia, and a good friend, Dr. Shawn Tyson, and he's the owner of Pure One Outdoors. Dr. Shawn, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back again, Bruce. It's fun to be back with you. It's been a year, and we've had a lot of growth over a year, and it's good to see you.
Yeah, and I'm proud of your growth, and we'll get into that during the show, and you get some announcements to make where, some major box stores have picked you up, and things are going good. But before we do, I was talking to the people who make Sno-Seal. What's the name of that company?
Atsko.
Atsko, and they really know UV, and I know you know UV, and so let's talk about and have a discussion for the next few minutes about UV and the fibers and how deer see a blue hue. That's in the spectrum. If you've done any work at all, folks, deer see blue. And let's deep dive in it so people understand why you need to neutralize those UV emissions.
Yeah,
if I said that right.
Yeah. I mean, I understand you. It's let's start off first with just understanding the deer has a different type of eye than a human. A human has a UV filter built into their eye to block all the UV rays from the sun. A deer and a lot of other wild game do not have a UV filter in their eye. And that allows them to see better at real low light conditions. That's when they're out feeding and moving around, especially at nighttime as well. So when it comes to deer in the UV spectrum, why it's important is because if you take anything that reflects light, especially a blue light that comes off of low light conditions, when the sun is dropping or the sun's rising, we have blue hues in the air. And so whenever we have camouflage that's not treated properly, then the UV bounces off of the camouflage and gives off a UV glow. So with a product like mine, like X Out Odor, we have it in a spray form or we have it in a detergent form. It's combined with scent control. We're able to coat the fibers of camouflage to prevent that glow. What a lot of people don't realize is that modern camouflage, it is designed so that it's very visually appealing to the human eye, but it's not to the wild game eye. And so when it looks good to us, it looks completely different to wild game. So when it comes to actually whitetail deer, those UV fibers that they use to build these pretty camouflage, they glow to deer. And so with a product like mine, X Out Odor, when you wash it or spray it, it actually coats the fibers of the camouflage, and so that will prevent any UV glow coming out. So a deer won't pick you off from a faraway distance. So it's super important when it comes to bow hunters because, as you know, with bow hunting, every single foot counts. So if we're able to use scent control and some UV control, then it's an extra tool in a hunter's box that they can use to get closer to deer. And so if we can decrease the odor and decrease the UV, then that gives hunters more opportunities to hunt deer. So I have hunters call me and tell me all the time that they're seeing more deer or having more deer on them now than they did before, and they believe that it's due to using UV and scent control combined. So we're hearing it from the hunters that are actually in the field. It's not just, hey, here's an idea. It's actually being put in use, and it's a proven fact that there's been studies done at University of Georgia that prove that the deer see UV. And so if we can control that, then that's going to give hunters a lot more opportunities at bigger deer that maybe in the past would have saw them from a faraway distance and just skirted around them. Or now, if we're going to control that scent and control that UV, then we're going to be able to get those bigger deer, those more mature deer, in closer and get a lot more opportunity to hunt them, especially with a bow.
Let's take this back, and one thing that Shawn and I have recently done is completed the QDMA Deer One Stewardship, and in that they had How Deer See. That was one of the courses we took at Clemson University.
Yes,
available to anybody. You can take it. Costs $250, I think, but it'll let you know all that you think you know about deer. You don't. I gotta laugh.
Oh yeah, it was, I tell you what, that was a great course, and there's a lot of things that I thought I knew about deer, and those guys schooled me, and it was pretty awesome. And so, yeah, I finished that up through Clemson, and that was a great course. It really was.
And saying that, I guess credibility wise, both Shawn and I, we're investing in the industry that we live in and that we love. And I recommend every single listener do the same thing. Invest in it, become a student of it. And, watching videos is great and everything, but open the books, crack the books, and learn. And you'll become a better deer hunter. Enough said on that. And let's go back to the UV. So dawn dusk in the air, just because of the way all the lights work and sun's coming up and going down, there's a spectrum of blue light that's in the woods. I mean, it's just there. And so because you have these brighteners in your clothes, you're glowing to the deer. And I personally have witnessed that because I bleached my blue jeans, and they were blue, and they actually glowed. And I looked down and I go, oh, I'm glowing. That was a long time ago. And I don't know if you could do that now, but a long time ago I did. But so how far away can the deer see you glowing?
I don't know the actual answer to how far, but I can tell you, though, is that before I started using this product, I saw less deer than I see today. And I can tell you for a fact that they can pick you off from a distance. I don't know the exact distance, but I know they can definitely see something glowing in a bush, in a tree that they know is not normal. They can't always pick out the human form itself. They don't have the greatest detail with their eyes, but they can pick up something that's not normal. And if something is glowing in a blue hue, then they can definitely tell from a distance that that's not normal. And the smart deer, the big bucks, the mature deer, they're going to see that, and they're going to skirt around that hunter. They're going to come up the backside with that wind and try to figure out what that is. So there's a lot of times when deer can see a person, and the hunter never knew that they were there because they saw them from a distance, and they skirted them, and they picked up the scent when they got downwind of them.
And so I don't know how the camouflage companies make their product. I don't know how they could prove or disprove that their products do not emit, you're not going to glow if you use them. I do know brighteners aren't good for your clothes. So you use a non-scented, non-brightener type of detergent. I know that.
That's what you would think, Bruce. But even when you use a detergent that has no brighteners in it, that's also not going to help your camouflage if they have the fiber. All modern camouflage has these fibers, and the way to test it is to take a black light, and you can actually shine it on your camouflage, and you can see if it's going to put off any blue hue to it, and you'll know right then if it's going to put off any UV glow. Only detergents that actually use UV inhibitors, like my product, X Out Odor. If you're not using an inhibitor, then it's not going to block it. If you use a regular detergent, it's not going to block a UV. It won't make it worse, but it's not going to make it any better. So that's why it's super important to use a product like mine that is going to control the odor, but it's also going to block that UV. It's going to coat the fiber of your camouflage, and it's going to decrease that UV glow. That's why it's super important to use that.
So just take out whatever brand you're using. Right now, it's almost July, 4th of July. You should be checking your gear anyway. And take it out and then get in a dark room, get a black light. They're easy to get. And
yes,
see what happens.
Yes.
And wash them in your normal wash, however you've been washing them. Take them out, see what happens. And then if you see the glow, like I'm talking about, the deer see that, period.
Yes.
This isn't, we're not talking about smoke and mirrors. We're not selling product. The deer see that. And that was brought home QDMA Deer Steward 1. I mean, it was just like, oh my goodness. And, sometimes you get busted and you're sitting in your stand dawn and dusk anyway. And that's when it's most prevalent. What happens during the middle of the day when the sun's up?
When the sun's up, it's not going to be a factor. When the rays are coming in, it's not going to be an issue because the sun's going to be high. It's not going to be putting off any blue rays to actually bounce off of the camouflage to put off that UV glow. There are a few companies out there right now that are actually trying to go no UV. I know of one, First Light. They are doing some work trying to use no UV fibers in their clothing. I don't know of any other right now, but there's some companies that are beginning to pick up on it and are beginning to produce camouflage that actually don't put off a UV glow. And so that's when I know that we're on the right track, that we're not only are we beginning to put out great products to help people do this, but other companies are beginning to change their camouflage to help hunters as well. But that costs money. So if you already have a bunch of camouflage and you don't want to buy some new camouflage, then you can use our products to treat your current camouflage and save some money that way also.
So dawn and dusk, most critical times. What about overcast? What about, stormy weather, snowstorms, rainstorms, or just flat out overcast day?
Anytime you're going to have overcast day, then you're going to have an increased opportunity to see UV. When it's going to be getting darker, that's when you're going to be able to see it. If it's super bright outside, it's not going to be a factor. So if it's an overcast day, snowing, raining, then yeah, you're going to have a better opportunity for deer to see you if you're not using something to control that UV aspect.
So, folks, for what it's worth, this is information that you need to know. Specific times of the day, specific weather conditions, you're glowing. Prove it to yourself with your black light, and then do something about it. Because if you're glowing, then the deer knows you're there. I've had deer look right up at me, and I'm invisible where I'm not, and it's probably because of the low light conditions, and I was glowing like a nuclear chipmunk or something. I don't know.
If that's the thing, is that hunters, they realize that deer are going to be moving the most at low light conditions, right? I mean, you're going to be in your stand first in the morning or in the evening when deer are moving. So it's going to be super important to use this type of product to add a tool to your toolbox to help you get closer to deer. And if it's adding scent control with UV, then now you're covering two factors that deer use to survive. Deer use their eyes and they use their nose to survive. If we are able to decrease those factors, then that hunter is going to have a better opportunity to harvest that deer. If you're not going to use those, then they're going to pick you off, either by their vision or by their scent. So why not use a product that's going to help you? And that's our biggest thing is it's going to cost you $10 to get a product that's going to last you half a season, that's going to give you a better opportunity to shoot more deer. It's pretty simple.
I'm going to try to bring up the Spectrum. Hold on.
If you go on my xouthunt.com, I've got a Spectrum on there as well.
Okay. X out.
xouthunt.com.
Yeah, I want you folks to realize that the reality. Where is it now? UV Vision.
If you go under UV Vision, you got it. There's a picture there. You can see how it's treated and non-treated. You scroll down there, you'll see the deer eye. There you go.
See, and this is the wavelength and everything. It's just amazing. But
Yep,
here's
so you can see
okay
there.
on this where the cursor is, so that's covered, and so it's not glowing.
You
Non-treating.
got it.
This is
You
glowing.
got it. You got it.
Okay.
So the left is treated and the right's non-treated.
So, saying that, folks, just do your own Google search. I mean, that took us 2 seconds, to do that, 5 seconds. But go and do a deep dive and go, we're spending, we got our Ford 150s or a Chevy, whatever, or GMC trucks and Dodge and all those wonderful trucks. We drive back and forth. We get our blinds. We get our bows. We got thousands and thousands of dollars. And it all comes down to these little things. And that's one thing I've learned about the show is because it's all the little things. Everybody knows the big things, but you break it down. The good hunters, they get down in the minutia, and they understand. I know one guy hunts 3 days a year. That's it.
Yep.
And he's very successful on 40
Sure.
acres.
Yep.
He hunts 3 days a year. The rest of the time, he doesn't go in there.
Sure. And that's a big thing is pressure. So, I think a lot of hunters, they worry about some things that don't always matter. Like they've got to have the newest bow. They've got to have the newest this and the newest that. And that's really not going to always help you harvest a deer. It's the little things. It's using the wind. It's scent control. It's UV control. It's not putting pressure into the woods. It's not educating deer before the season comes. And there's so many little things that add up to being a big thing when the season is there. If you just worry about what type of camouflage you have and what bow you shoot, those things in the end of the day don't matter. It's the little things that will ruin a hunt before it even starts. And so that's why X-Out odor and our other products that we use, those focus on the little things so that we can have a better hunt. If we can control the little things, then at the end of the day, we can help a hunter harvest more deer. And that's what we do here at Pure One Outdoors. We sweat the little stuff because we want to have hunters have more success in the field than they have before.
Now, do you have any stories from last year where guys said, hey, I used XYZ product from you and I had a successful year?
Well, we've got hundreds of stories like that. I mean, I get guys calling me all the time or emailing me saying, they set up wrong on the wind and they use our products and the deer still came in and they had 10-yard shots. We've got guys that had said, hey, I forgot my stand one day and I sat on the ground by a tree and I had deer walk up on me. I mean, we've got tons of stories to where guys are putting our products in use. And they're seeing the success with it because, like I said, it's the small things that we ask them to do, which is that UV control, that scent control. And if they follow the things that we ask them to do, how to apply it, how to apply the UV, and you apply the UV spray the night before your hunt so that the spray can bind to the camouflage fibers. If you do that, then that's going to control your UV glow that next day. It's all those little things that if they do what we ask, then they're going to have much more success. So, yeah, we've had a lot of hunters come by and see us at the shows and say, hey, thank you so much for making a great product. They didn't really believe in scent control or they didn't really believe in UV control. But when they bought it, they had success and it changed their idea on how they thought about those. So, yeah, it's been a fun couple years as we've grown to have those guys contact us and tell us their stories. And we get the pictures, and the pictures tell us a story that these guys are saying, hey, we're killing bigger deer than we ever have before, and we've only been using your products. And that starts from our mineral products from January all the way through our scent and UV control products in December. So we've got products that are helping hunters every single day of the year. They can find a product that we carry that's helping them find success in the field.
So let's just do that. Let's take a walk through the year by quarters, January and then April and then August, and October. So let's talk about the products you have to help me, a deer hunter, through each one of those quarters.
Sure. Well, the first quarter, as we all know, that's the time to get, deer beginning to look for nutrients to begin to grow. So this year we've got our Buck Yeah product. Our Buck Yeah is a great deer mineral. We also have a great attractant into it. So guys are putting it in front of their game cameras, and they're beginning to get an inventory of what they have on their property. And that's one of the biggest things that we need to know as well, is what deer do you have on your property, or what deer survived. So as we get into July, we begin to see, growth of horns or antlers on the deer. And so that way they can begin an idea, a game plan of what deer they want to hunt or target that year. Then we roll into the early season for bow season. We've got our X-Out odor products. We've got our X-Out UV products, so we can control the odor and the UV. Super important for bow season. Also on the Buck Yeah side, we've got some great attractants with that as well. Something pretty cool that we designed is that with our Buck Yeah minerals, we have a certain type of attractant into the mineral that's got a very flavorful smell to it. And in a lot of states where you can't use deer mineral or feed after a certain time of year, we also have that same scent in a bottle so that hunters can spray around their tree in those same areas that they've used the mineral before. So it kind of gives the deer in that area an idea that, hey, maybe there's something back out there again, food-wise, that they've smelt in the season that they've already eaten. So it kind of helps the hunters maybe kind of attract more deer that way and keep it legal. And so we have that combination of our deer attractant with our deer feed. And so that way we kind of trick them a little bit to kind of give them an idea, to kind of get them to come in for bow season. And then as we get later into the season, we also have our new Buxation, which is going to be our deer bedding scent. And we have a synthetic and a non-synthetic version, depending on what state these hunters live in. And that also helps as a cover scent, or it can be used as an attractant scent, which has some estrus into it to also attract bucks. So, like I said, we've got products that range. There's a couple that I didn't put in there, but we've got detergents. We've got carbon stuff to add carbon to hunters, older carbon suits. We've got carbons for that. So we've got a wide range of products for hunters that, depending on what they're looking for in the season, we've got something for them.
You say all that, and we'll take a little break here, and I'll ask the question that I ask everybody, is that you've been hunting a few years, and what do you wish you knew 10 years ago that now you know? So it's kind of like, this is my one big thing that, man, I wish I knew this 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
I think my biggest thing would be deer pressure. When I was younger hunting deer, I was in the woods all the time, and I was putting down human scent on everything. And looking back now, is I realized that the less that you're in the woods of the areas that you want to hunt, the better off you're going to be early season. And that's when it's super important for bow season, is not educating deer before the season even starts. And so that's one of the biggest things that I've taken away from it is less deer pressure. I barely ever go into only time that I go into my woods of our proving grounds, as we call it, is to check a camera every few months, or to put down a new mineral lick, or we keep as much pressure away from our woods as we can. Because when it comes to bow season, I don't want the deer to have any education level that we're going to be there. And that's my biggest thing.
Well, I hope you take some note and be thinking about that for yourself, because in the future I'm going to run some contests, Whitetail Rendezvous, and we're going to have the one big thing contest for a month, and we'll have some Buckwild coffee as a prize. So if you're a coffee drinker, you might want to look up on Facebook or Instagram when we start announcing that later this summer. So having said that, you like to hunt deer. We talked product, we talked about Pure One Outdoors, but let's talk about deer hunting, and let's talk about last year's season and what went right, what went wrong.
I had one of the most interesting seasons I've had in a long time. on my own private property, I just didn't have a lot of mature deer that I wanted to shoot. I do follow the QDMA guidelines, and so I try to keep my deer right around 4.5 to 5 that I shoot. And so on some aspects, that really limits, what bucks I have a chance to shoot, especially here on the East Coast. We don't get a lot of big booners that a lot of guys get, in the Midwest. So we really have to kind of be picky. I shot a couple of does early season to put some meat in the freezer, a little doe therapy, and but I passed on a lot of bucks. Some that in the past, when I wasn't doing some QDMA stuff, I probably would have shot, and then I would have complained that I haven't seen any big deer. Well, as the story goes, you can't have big deer if you shoot every small deer. And so that's really something that I've really practiced. I practice a lot to have controlled not to shoot these young deer. And so I hope this year some of the deer that I passed on, they'll be big enough this year to be harvested. I went to Tennessee and I hunted at a good friend of mine, Brandon Dowdy. You've talked with him in the past with Southern Waters. I hunted his farm and once again had a beautiful deer, 3 years old. But once again, he follows QDMA the same way, and I passed on him. So there's a lot of deer that I passed on last year, and I'm happy about that because I want to see big deer when I'm in the field. And the only way to see big deer when you're in the field is to pass on the small ones. And so I feel like this is going to be a good year for me. Hoping that a little positive vibes come from last season. They roll into this season, and I have a great season. That's what I'm hoping for.
Now, have you started seeing some of those past deer up on your trail cams?
I have. That's why I'm feeling the positive.
You're smiling.
Vibes.
You're smiling.
Yeah, I'm feeling the positive vibes. I have seen them on my camera, so I'm following that QDMA. Hey, I believe in it. I follow those guys, and I'm seeing it come true. And so, I'm hoping those guys, those bucks stick around come this season. So I'm providing them with plenty of food. I'm giving them water. I'm giving them coverage. I'm giving them all the things that they need to stick around. And that's a lot of things that hunters don't realize, that you have to give these bucks those things to keep them around. If not, then they're going to go searching for those things. So if we can keep the food, water, and safety coverage, then they'll stick around. And so that's what we're hoping for this year.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting all of a sudden to see, hey, wait a minute, he looks like he's got the same frame as the deer last year, or just his size configuration, or body configuration. You go, I've seen that deer before.
Yeah, that's
a cool thing.
That's awesome. It is a cool thing because, like I said, in the past, when I was a younger man, it didn't really matter what size they were, But now, I want to shoot. I want to shoot bigger deer, and so we're going to control our doe population to help with that as well. But at the same time, we're looking to shoot bigger deer, and that's we're going to follow it until it rides out. So we're going to see what happens.
Now, do you use hang-ons, ladder stands, or box stands?
I've got a combination. I do a lot of climber. I've got a couple hang-ons. I hunted my first box with Brandon Dowdy last year, and it was the weirdest feeling hunting from a box. It just didn't feel right. But usually I hunt from a climber. I like to be able to be mobile, depending on where the deer are. I like to be able to move around, not educate them. Find where the signs are and hunt that area. But I've got a few hang-ons in some fields that I know in the evenings the deer come in. So it all depends on where I'm at.
And I love putting hunt plans together. And, this is the time, if you're not starting to do that, your crops should be, your food plots should be going in, unless you're going to plant some brassicas for the winter, coming in August, early September, and that's getting close. But let's say August, you're going to plant some more crops that come up after season, because as we all know, the crops come up, when you plant them and they get germination and then the deer hit them, all of a sudden they're gone. So you really have to plan, to keep your crops in front of them just about all year round now. If you're really working the plan, you want to keep something to eat on your land, just as Dr. Tyson said, food, water, and cover, if you can do that and minimize the pressure, you're going to have deer. Just about every state in the eastern part, east of the Mississippi, if you do that, you will have some sort of deer activity on your backyard in Connecticut. I mean,
that's a fact. It's a proven fact that with that course that we took through QDMA, they showed the actual pressure to where if land is pressured so much, they actually tagged those deer with those GPS collars, and they showed properties to where there was a lot of pressure, and they showed the number of deer hits, and then they showed the properties that weren't pressured, and they had a lot more deer in those areas. So, I mean, the pressure thing is proven. And so that's what I talked about before, is that's one of the biggest things that I try to do is not get into my areas before I need to be. I save them as long as I can, and I keep the pressure down, and I keep the food and everything they need there so that when I do come, I'm coming with authority.
And I like that, coming with authority. That's great. So for the last couple of minutes here, let's just recap who you are, what you're doing, how people get a hold of you, and then we'll wrap the show.
Oh, thank you very much. It's Dr. Shawn Tyson with Pure One Outdoors. We can be reached on Facebook at Pure One Outdoors, Instagram the same way. You can find our products through Walmart, through Cabela's.com. You can find them at independent stores throughout the U.S. Like I said, we started 3 years ago with a dream, and I've taken the dream and we're growing it every single year to this being our third serious year of being in business. And it wouldn't be this way if it wasn't for the hunters that we have helped, that have continued to push us and support us. They give us great feedback, and there's some products that we have changed. So we continue to grow with hunters, and we'll continue to grow and take the feedback. And we're just proud to be able to help guys. We're a blue-collar company, and we're going to stay that way. And we're going to continue to help blue-collar hunters have more success in the field. So reach out to me at Pure One Outdoors, at Pure One Products Gmail. I'll answer any questions that you have about the products, about hunting, anything that I can help a hunter with. Please contact me.
And with that, on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, we are becoming the #1 whitetail podcast in North America, and it's because of our listeners, because of guys like you, and I appreciate all the support that we're getting. So having said that, I wish you well. And I can't wait to catch up with you after season's over.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And success this year to you, buddy.
Hey, folks, we get a special opportunity podcast coming up. We're going to talk to Christopher Joe. Now, Christopher Joe has the adventures of blank, blank, blank. Could be the adventures of Breeze, could be adventures of whitetail hunting, or it could be the adventures of Joe Farm, where he and his family have been cattle ranching blank Angus for 4 generations. They're down in the Hale County, down in Alabama, and it's in Alabama's Black Belt region. If you don't know what that is, then you might want to check it out, because it's got an interesting story unto itself. And Christopher works for the Department of Agriculture, and he's turning the farm into interesting. I'm trying to think all the things he's done. 1, deer hunting. 2, ecology and environment and habitat, that he can turn it into a classroom. And he's also turning into, they got a foundation that helps other people learn how to be successful as a rancher, as a farmer. And you throw that all in, and Christopher Joe is just one funny dude. You're going to enjoy him, and I hope you do enjoy him as much as I had him. And I want to help him grow his business, because it's a great opportunity to recruit people by getting him onto a farm with an opportunity to see just what it takes to grow whitetails down there in Alabama.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.